It's February 1986 in the Philippines. After 2 decades of dictatorship, the people take to the street. Barehanded, they face the tanks and guns. Barehanded, they take on the great dictator himself, Ferdinand Marcos. And against all odds, the people win. Marcos flees the country. On a wave of people power, Cory Aquino becomes leader to 56 million people. After years of repression, there is a real hope for change. A hope that the uprising will give the people the one thing that they need above everything else: land they can call their own. Today, the People's Revolution is history. The streets are back to normal. And the hope for land reform remains just that, a hope. Nearly 20 million Filipinos, 1/3 of the population, are homeless. Most of these people are from the countryside, forced off their land by big landowners and foreign agribusiness. In the cities, they live as squatters, who rely on endless ingenuity to keep their families together. They perch their shanties over the water, and by dumping refuse underneath, build their own landfill, gradually turning the sea into the land the government has not provided. Land reclaimed from the sea often becomes valuable urban real estate, and evictions swiftly follow. Evictions are particularly hard on the women. Today, women from all over the Philippines are organizing for land reform. This is their story. This reclaimed land was once home to thousands of squatters. In the early 80s, Marcos sent in the bulldozers, and the families who lived here were evicted overnight. They retreated to the hills of Labangon overlooking Cebu, where an absentee landowner, Mrs. Souza, had left hundreds of acres vacant. They took shelter here, rebuilt their huts, and in time, these hills became home. Among the squatters, there is one woman who is here by choice. Tessie Fernandez is a mother of 5 and a community organizer who works with women and street children.
As an organizer, I see my role as merely a facilitator. After working for several years with them, I can just see so much resources in the people. People have their own basic sense of justice, basic sense of right and wrong, basic sense of beauty and all that. Except that situations and deprivations have stifled them from really expressing this and really manifesting it. So if we can help them identify their problems, then the capabilities will just come up in the process.
Lagi ako lang sila sa butong kay lisod pa lagi kay kusanan. Oy, niya ako ba na? Pero nilang over. Yeah. Bisag na sa gaayo nga, biyaan ko na madaot na sa kurda.
Balik ko. Sabot mo ba og kuan? Kinsa ang mupuli? Anak kay wa man po mo take note kay ikaw gud ang kuan. Di sa to pa og na kay i-designate nga lain. Magtuo sila kay ikaw may nisulti.
Tessie works with a national women's organization called Filipina, which dedicates itself to the political, economic, and legal rights of women. Living among the squatters has earned her their trust and respect.
My feeling is my development couldn't be apart from the development of the people around me or the people I work with. So their life seems to be an extension already of my own life. Many of the men have unstable jobs. So much of the coping up depends on the women. When you talk of health, when you talk of shelter, when you talk of livelihood, it is the women themselves who are mostly affected when their children cry because they have nothing to eat, when their children are sick, and all the stuff.
Widespread unemployment has placed a heavy burden on the women of the community. Many are the sole providers for an entire family. They survive by selling peanuts and cooked vegetables in the city. The women have been up since dawn. They have already fed their families and walked to the market and back. Now it is mid-morning, and they are cooking the produce they will sell in the afternoon. It's a half-hour trek down from the hills to the jeepney stop where they catch a ride into town.
At Cebu Plaza, you can buy the latest style of RTWs, t-shirts, bags, shoes, and others at Cebu's very prices. Do your shopping now at the
These women have already worked 7 hours, but they have yet to earn a peso. If they don't make some money in the next 7 hours, their children will eat only corn at supper time. On a good day, a peanut vendor makes a profit of $1, enough for some vegetables and a piece of fish. They start the day in debt. Each morning, Sissing must borrow a few dollars from a moneylender to buy her produce wholesale. And each evening, she must pay that money back with 20% interest. What remains, if anything, is her profit. Exploitation by the loan sharks was the first issue around which the women organized. With a small grant from Filipina, they have set up their own cooperative loan fund. Each woman now borrows from the co-op for her peddling, and the interest from her loan creates a growing source of capital for other women. It's still a struggle to make payments, but now at least the capital is under their own control.
What are your problems, those of you who haven't paid?
Peanuts are scarce these days. They cost 22 pesos a measure. Very expensive and hard to find. I've paid back only 260. I'm short 40 of what I owe Filipina. But my child has been sick and it was an emergency, so I used up the money. That's why I stopped peddling, because I needed cash to peddle again. It's not like corn or peanuts which I can buy on consignment. The vegetables come from the mountains, so I have to pay cash for them. So I'm defeated for the time being. Is it possible, Tessie, that the money I owe Filipina?
It's not our money, it's your money. You think that if you don't pay, it's our loss? What's circulating now is 12,000 pesos. You say that you borrowed it from Filipina, but we are just circulating it for you. Now, if we don't watch out, it will dwindle slowly.
Among us, Tessie, we have an emergency fund. Every Sunday, we collect 1 peso per member. That's our emergency fund in case someone gets sick.
Let's take one problem at a time.
The women's question in the Philippines is a hidden issue, perpetuated by the belief that the Filipino women already enjoy a status equal to that of men and hence no longer need liberation. We are concerned with equality and autonomy for the poor women because they are doubly oppressed by their being poor and their being women. Unless women enjoy a status equal to that of men, there can be no social transformation.
Ever since I was 12 years old, I noticed that my father seemed to know everything and that he seemed to lord it over my mother when they fought. That's when I realized that we women shouldn't allow ourselves to be oppressed. I used to tell my mother, "Fight back, Mama, because it's not your fault." We have to argue with them. When it comes to lawmaking, I noticed that it's all men. Don't we women have the right to sit there? I think men or women, it should be the same.
Narina Cabales is a street vendor who also does manicures for the ladies of Beverly Hills, Cebu's richest suburb. Narina's husband Moises works all night selling cigarettes at the local pool hall. Together they live with an extended family of 9 in a nipa hut that is 15 square meters. Their youngest grandchild is 8 days old. Narina's son-in-law is unemployed. Each month, the landowner, Mrs. Souza, demands part of their marginal income for rent, leaving no money for extras like the children's education. Mrs. Souza lives at a safe distance from the squatters, among the city's landlords and politicians in Beverly Hills.
In dealing with the women, I realized that most of their problems actually revolve around their children. It could be problem in health of the children. It could be problem of food for the children. Because children to them represent their future and the whole meaning for the family. So I thought dealing with the women would be automatically also dealing with the children.
One-third of all Filipinos are children, an average of 8 per family. The strain of repeated evictions and the cycle of poverty sometimes breaks these large families apart, and the children can end up here. Cebu's street children keep alive by begging, purse snatching, and scavenging from garbage. At night, they sleep in doorways, sniff shoemaker's glue to fight off hunger pangs. At 1 peso a capful, it's cheaper than food. Many children know neither their age nor their place of birth. Organizing these street children seemed to Tessie an important extension of her work with the women. The first step was to set up a drop-in shelter.
The fact that these children can survive in the street on their own without even parental guidance gives them an edge over other children. And these are the kind of children that will be our hope, particularly for congested cities, if we can help them develop their own capacities. So that's what we named the center, Kabataan sa Paglaom, Children of Hope.
The shelter is a place where a child can come to have a bath, share a meal, and spend the night. Funds that have been donated to the shelter provide employment for several women from Labangon. Narina is the house parent.
But the new one though, is new. We can probably help him out.
Let him watch that and I'll give it to him.
Because the shelter focuses on the child's potential, it is not run as a charity, and the meals are not free. Each boy pays a few cents for his food. Some are eating vegetables for the first time.
What these kids really need, our elder sister or our older brother who more or less could facilitate them or could guide them.
I think probably we are the best counselors for the kids at the moment because we're the ones who know them, whom they trust, and who spend time with them.
Let's just relate with them as friends, no? And then try to evoke that sense of judgment. Rather than tell him, "Hoy, ikaw, nagkuano po ka? Ikaw, di ba giingnan ta ka?" As if these kids are, I don't like the attitude nga, these are kids who needs to be, as if they straightened out coming from a very unstraight kuano. It's true that society has made them so, pero they are not basically that wrong ba? They are not basically that deformed.
Buhat ng ako ay masagla sa batong paligid ng riyas. Buhay ko'y laging walang sigla, hirap takot nagdarama. Ang pagsapit ng ating gabi, ang di mag-usap ang sarili. Magulang ko, kapatid ko, nasaan ba kayo? Ibon man may layang lumipad, kulungin mo at umiiyak. Tao pa kaya may didilag, nang di mag-asang makalabas. O Diyos ko, sana'y pakinggan niyo ang aming pakiusap sa'yo. Aming adika, isang araw makalaya.
Every day at dawn, the children are out the door and hurrying to work. To get by as scavengers, they must reach the garbage sites early in order to claim whatever treasures the night has yielded. But scavenging in Cebu is not restricted to kids. A family of 5 has moved into the garbage site permanently in order to be first in line. The kids are looking for scrap metal, plastic containers, empty bottles, anything that can be converted to cash at the nearest junk dealers. The children will repeat the whole operation many times in a single day. With so many scavengers in Cebu, it is continually a buyer's market. The kids are often taken advantage of. If they are lucky, they will have 50 cents in their pockets by supper time. The street children are all boys. A destitute girl who roams the streets will disappear quickly. The city is a notorious center for child prostitution, which caters mainly to the foreign tourist and the American soldier. These photographs are taken from a Japanese tourist brochure. Homeless girls like these are easy prey for the city's pimps.
Almost all of them come from the rural areas, peasant families or fishermen, and they hardly had 2 or 3 years of elementary education. They had no skills at all, and they also had dreams of getting a better job.
Sister Marcia Antiga is a member of Filipina who regularly visits the young prostitutes. At the back of this bar, young girls are housed 2 or 3 to a room. They are all in debt to their pimps, who charge them for their room, board, clothing, and bath water.
Oh, mas gawang si Juice.
Mahal siya kayo.
Bata man. 50 na ko ang sod. Outing.
Sige, pag yun.
Wa. Salamat na sister. Lunes na mo na anon. Tuloy ko ano di ba?
Siya kayo utang gani.
Naman yan. Wa may kwarta. Siyempre may kwan kami tubo na. Galigo na mo. Halimbawa, mupalit mo yung sinina. Siya mo palit. Siya mo palit nga. Mukuan siya.
O 150 ang sanina, sila may
150. 250. Oh, formal. Kinig 300 ni, 250 ni. Ang ano ani, 350. Oo, sister man.
Sugot lang mo, anak. Ang katakuan na.
So, wala may mahimo. Katong, Amerikano, gid sister, sadya, gili. Ni, mga 11:30 ako ginuha. Ito, puno ta ng hotel. Tapos, karon wala may mahimo. Hapit ang oras. Dili namin na to, di lang ko, di namin nagkuhan, gingunan ko siya nga, sa amo ako miyang kwarto, dili pomba, dili kutsyon, tsaka wala kaming unan, wala kaming habol, Wais ka, sister, nabutin ni di, laluoy man ko ba, timplahan ako, kuan,
kape,
timplahan gatas, ako gipauna, inom, kaya siguro may hilo, tayan ako, tinapay, ako sabi, paunla. Kay basig ko nung wala ako nung ikugibutang ang kuhan. Sus, piste, yung ko. Sus, kayo, ay, pa ni maling, ni masuk pa. Amo, duda pa ba? Pero, 150 may hatag na ako gitip. Tipan niya ko pagka umaga ba. Yung siya nga, kami kuno di ay, bisa kuno yung miyani. Pero na ako lang may puso ba? So, hatod nato sila.
Very often, those young prostitutes would tell about how the families were badly in need of the basic needs of life. And their main concern was that they could send back money so they could have a respectable house or build a shelter for their families. And their greatest fear was that the people they had back home would learn that they are in this business.
Every shack on this narrow street is filled with young girls like Joy or Josie. Not far away, Sister Marcia has set up Cebu's first shelter for homeless girls. Sister Marcia recruits young girls on the street before the pimps can reach them, offering them shelter in a permanent group home.
The girls are in constant danger. They were growing very fast, teenagers, and so we observed that they may not last long.
The home is called Don Panan, which means refuge. These girls are the exception. They have found a refuge. But for millions of others, the future is bleak. There will always be street children as long as there are squatters, whose homes can be swept away by government whim.
In my view, the children and I are in the same situation. My happiness would be great if I had a place of my own, so that my family could feel that they have a home and they could sleep well, especially since I am getting older. I don't want them to share the life I have had, to suffer the same pain that I went through. I would like to see them with a better life. So we must pray to God that we will get this land, not just my family, but all of us, and we need to help each other.
Every time we talk, particularly in the women's meeting, I couldn't remember a meeting where there was no mention of kids or the home. That is precisely one reason why we have to tackle the issue of the land. It eventually boils down to the fact that they have to have a stable home. And for them, a stable home is at least owning the place where they're staying. Once they're sure that it is theirs, they can command respect from their neighbors and even to themselves, because it reflects their very own identity.
Once again, the threat of eviction hangs in the air. Mrs. Souza no longer sends her men around to collect money from the squatters. There are rumors that she's planning to sell. The families cannot buy this land without capital, and they cannot raise capital without property as collateral. Their only hope is that the Aquino government will fulfill its promises and expropriate the land for socialized housing. The women have assembled their circle and have decided that it's time to act. They plan to present a petition to Hermanchuelos, the powerful officer in charge of squatter areas. For the first time, they will enter a government office and try to make the government accountable to them.
Okay, I'll be Hermanchuelos. Let's practice.
Good morning, sir. We are here because of our petition.
Let me take a look.
Okay, just leave it here. But sir, we want to know the results now. We have taken time and left our work because we wanted to know how things are going.
Oh, I forgot to tell you that regarding the settlement of squatters and the acquisition of land for them, that's the city's responsibility.
No, sir. Did you forget that when you came to our site, you assured us that you would help us with our case?
But what if the city has no money? What do we do? Do you have money?
That's why we're asking for help, because we have no money. What does the government think?
Now, let's not have any shouting.
But sir, if we don't speak loudly, then we won't be heard.
Good. Now clarify this. Whether or not he has the authority to expropriate the land. If not, then say, sir. If you don't have the power, say so. And don't waste our time.
Okay. For a long time, historically, the Philippines has been under several masters. First, the Spaniards, then came the Americans, then the Japanese. Even now, we are not that free economically. The Japanese dictate us, the Americans dictate us, and so on. As a result, culturally, we are also kind of empty. We are used to saying yes to people above us, to not giving our own opinions. We are taught that a good girl or a good boy is supposed to be an unquestioning boy. And even in politics, it's like that. Otherwise, she will be considered subversive. So for us who go into this issue type of organizing, this kind of a culture, which we call the culture of the oppressed or the culture of silence, cannot be changed by just lecturing to people that you should stand up on your rights, you know. How can we tell them they have dignity? How can we tell them, oh, you have power, unless they have experience of actual power? And the only way to teach that is for them to actually stand up and find out whether they have. So if they don't insist, nobody will give them the rights.
This is only a petition. This is not the document I asked for when I told you to register your group. Besides, this meeting should only be between your officers and me.
Do you have the power to solve our problem regarding expropriation, sir? We would like to clarify this.
This is all that we want to know, whether we can have hope in you.
It depends. Even if President Aquino proclaims that urban land reform in Cebu can be initiated, if the mayor doesn't move, there is nothing I can do. Now, if you're strong, you can go to the mayor.
But the petition that we sent to the mayor was already endorsed by you. So perhaps you and the mayor should consult with each other to find out what's happening with the petition from Manga.
I will follow it up.
Can you put it in writing that you have the power to expropriate the land before we go to the mayor?
The office has the power to expropriate. There's no need to put that in writing because it's in the law.
That means our coming here has not guaranteed anything, because we still have to wait for a decision from the city.
How long do you think it will take?
Not long. In 1986, it was already talking about housing.
So it's still not clear, sir.
Nobody can really be certain about what tomorrow brings.
Hermanchuelos may not know it, but for the women, something important has changed. They have found their common voice. A process has begun. It's time to relax and join the street children for a rare day at the beach. To maintain the group's momentum, the women need long and short-term goals. Owning the land will require a lengthy struggle. In the meantime, the needs of the children cannot wait. Before joining the shelter, Dindo spent 7 months in jail. To survive on the streets, Dindo had to break the laws for vagrancy and for petty theft. There are many street children in captivity. Reaching kids like Dindo means taking the program behind prison bars. In the past, there was no activity to break the monotony of life in a cell. Now every day, Lanyen Durano, a Filipina member who lives at the boys' shelter, brings basic schooling to the children in jail. It is a long walk through an open cell of older inmates before Lanyen can reach the minors.
Every time I enter the gate, my life is on the line like a thread. I usually say, God bless me. I hope no bad things is going to happen.
Wait.
Ako ba nasa man? Okay ha? Tinigbuksay sa tao. Wala. Ang bangka, mayroon.
Yes, mayroon.
Panang bugsay niya, no? Bugsay siya, isa. Mga 5 minutes din ninyo bugsayan. Mag-irog yapon di. Mag-irog lang yapon.
For many children, this is their first experience of formal schooling.
Okay, this is still water current. Gikan sa asaman. Education is really important to them, even though they are inside this prison cell. I could see it in the wink of their eyes, in the gestures, how they responded to classroom recitation. They are also learning how to discipline themselves, how to enter formally in a class when they are all the times in trouble because of their poor situation here. Sometimes I feel like crying for them. How I'm gonna let you learn everything that you should know. Not only from books, but what life really is. That's more we are concerned of. Relating the contents of the book to what is the reality of the world.
Kay tamis mabuhay sa sariling bahay at may kalayaan sa kapaligiran. Sana'y pakinggan mo ang aming pagsasamo. Amin adika, isang araw magkalaya.
For the shelter's older boys, their days in prison and on the streets are now behind them. They are moving to a vacant house in Labangon, next door to Tessie among the squatters. They are ready to live together as a family and to become neighbors in a wider community. This is their first real home.
They have shown their capacities to survive in the street. That means they can really take care of themselves in a more dignified way with our help.
Down in the crowded streets, they scavenged. Now that they are part of the community, they are going to try their luck at peddling homemade sausages.
For me, livelihood is very crucial. Unless they can stand up on their own without having to ask from other people, whatever service we give to them would be not complete. We will just be changing their source of mendicancy. Begging in the streets and them being fed by us would not be any different.
You have two possible options. You work for expropriation or you wait for urban land reform, whenever that comes.
As a community organizer, I believe on people themselves doing something about their lot, whatever that is. Be it a very small issue, or be it a land issue, or be it a human rights issue. I believe that development without involving the people themselves who are affected will be a sham. I will not be there the whole time, but people will be there. And I believe despite me or with me, they will be developing on their own. We organize people around issues, like we organize the street kids around their needs. We organize the women around whatever issues that come up to them, like they need capital source, okay, they need the land, okay. Because for me, it is in the struggle to fight for whatever rights they have. It is only in this that they learn to really achieve their dignity. Because for me, dignity cannot be taught. It cannot also be given. It has to be acquired. And it is only in practice that one acquires dignity.
The women have decided to approach the landowner herself.
You think Mrs. Sosa will negotiate?
She might have some compassion. Let's do it through love, not war.
Especially since Mrs. Sosa is so religious.
Let's work on her religiousness.
We should show that we also have respect for her.
Now, before you go to Mrs. Sosa, you have to agree on your bargaining price.
Tell her, we have been in your land for a long time and we never did anything to transgress your rules. You will have the prestige to be the first rich landlord under the new constitution to provide socialized housing for tenants. In short, you touch her heart, okay?
First, we'll serenade her. On Monday afternoon, we'll practice how to soften up Mrs. Sosa.
Okay na siya. Mali pa yun, mali pa yun, sana na mali pa yun. Mali pa yun, mali pa yun, sana na mali pa yun. La 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 la
malipayon, kitang tanan malipayon. Ikaw malipayon, ako malipayon, kitang tanan malipayon. La 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 la.
Mrs. Sosa's asking price was 15 times the declared value of the land, far more than the women could ever pay. 12 months later, they are still waiting to hear from the government about their petition for expropriation.
Ang bayan kong Pilipinas.
For the women of Labangon, there is no turning back. Their spirit and determination are stronger than ever. The land is not yet free, but the circle of women is expanding.
What happened to Marcos should be a lesson to us. We thought it was impossible to oust him. But since everybody did their part, we found it was very possible to oust a person with all the resources in the country. That should be a lesson enough that anything that we want, as long as we be persistent with it, we will get it in the end.
Ibon man may layang lumipad, kulungin mo at umiiyak. Bayan pa kayang sakdal dilag, ang di magnasang makaalpas. Pilipinas kung minumutya, pugad ng luha ko't dalita. Ating adhika, makita kang sagdalaya. Ibon man may layang lumipad, kulungin mo at umiiyak. Bayan pa kayang sakdal dilag, ang di magnasang makaalpas. Pilipinas kong minumutya, pugad ng luha ko't dalita. Ating adhika, makita kang sakdalaya. Ating adhika, makita kang sakdalaya.